Good afternoon and welcome back to Clark's Kitchen. Today I'm going to be making and rolling out homemade noodles. In the bowl I have just 3 eggs, whole eggs, and I'm going to beat those just to mix them up. You watch this on TV, they'll put the flour on the pan or on the counter. I like to start out in a bowl and add about a cup of flour and just mix that with the fork until you get a little bit of a paste, a thick mixture. So we're just mixing with the fork. When it's pretty well mixed, then we'll turn it out onto the counter. So see, we've got pretty good mixture in there, and we'll put about a cup of flour on the counter, spread it out pretty good, and we'll put the egg mixture right on top. Now, this is the way that my grandma taught me how. My mom made it this way. My Aunt Violet made them this way. When I was growing up, we had noodles on for Sunday dinner. All the cousins would come every Sunday and we would eat together after church. So noodles was always a favorite. So I'm just gently folding some flour into the mixture so that it becomes solid. Just fold, put a little flour, fold it in. And it doesn't have to be stiff, because as we roll, we're going to mix in some more flour. And I'm going to divide it in 2 just so it's easier to roll, a little bit more manageable. And see, now I can form it into a soft ball, still pliable. Spread out the flour, and we're going to start rolling. I'm going to cover the rolling pin with flour and begin to roll. It may not look as pretty as some if you use a pasta machine, but they turn out so good. And see, now we have flour coated on this side, and we'll roll. I don't want it to stick, so after you've rolled a little, turn it over, put a little bit more flour on there, and then roll. Noodles, I was raised on noodles on my dad's side of the family and my mom's side of the family. My Aunt June, which was my dad's sister, she made the best chicken and noodles. Okay. So you want to roll them, and they certainly don't have to be in a separate, any kind of shape. I think we'll turn it over one more time. Not quite thin enough yet. We don't want it to stick. So very gently turn it over and roll. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to let these noodles rest here for about an hour. I'm going to roll out the other section, let this rest for about an hour, and then we'll come back and cut. See you in a bit. Okay, welcome back. The noodles have been sitting for about an hour, and as you can see, they're nice and dry, so they're going to be easy to cut. So I've got a cutting board I'm going to just slide it right under there and start cutting them in slices. They certainly don't have to be even. That's one of the things about homemade noodles, is they're not going to be perfect, but they're going to be so tasty. So as you cut, you can just stack them up. And we're going to slice this whole. We'll just keep going. Slice and stack. And if you can see right here how thin that is, you want it to be nice and thin. We'll give you a tender noodle. A couple more cuts and we'll begin slicing. Stack them up. And we'll start cutting. Just cut straight down, have a nice sharp knife, cut. Look at that. And you've got noodles. We'll slide them right over there, and we will just keep cutting. I was going to tell you, today I made 3 eggs, and that it will be more than enough for my family, with some leftovers, because we like noodles, so we like to have leftovers. When I was growing up, I told you all the cousins loved noodles, and when all the cousins were going to be there, the aunts and uncles, there was about 15 of us, and I actually made 10 eggs of noodles, and we had the biggest pot of noodles, and if I recall right, we ate almost all of them. So see, they're just, after you've let them dry a little bit, they don't stick together, and they just make beautiful noodles like that. We're going to cut up the other piece, and then I'm going to let these dry on the counter, just like this, for about another hour. And then we'll come back and store them and get ready to cook them in broth. Okay, welcome back. So we have some really rich, good beef roast broth that I cooked the other day, and this is the leftover broth. I have it in a nice big pan, and we want it rolling, boiling, because that will cook the noodles the best and keep them from sticking together. I have the noodles right here that we made yesterday, and we're just going to take a nice big handful and drop them into the rolling broth. That rolling boil will really help keep the noodles from sticking together. Give them a little stir as you go. It smells so good. Now, of course, you can make chicken and noodles, or you can make beef and noodles. Today, since I had leftover beef broth, we're having beef and noodles. I don't know if you can even hear the boiling, but you want to keep that nice, the broth good and boiling. As you go, give it a little stir, and you can see the noodles. They're not sticking together at all. And it smells wonderful. Okay, and goes another handful. Give them a little stir. Now there's already some flour in with the noodles, and that is going to help thicken the broth as it cooks. You can also use this type of noodle in really any kind of, you can boil them in water. If you're going to make beef stroganoff, you can of course make chicken and noodles. You can use them in casseroles. So you can cook them vegetarian in vegetarian broth. Just about got all of them in here. And once you get all of them in there, you want this to cook for about 5 to 7 minutes, just until the noodles are done. You just pour that flour right in there. All done. And now I'm also going to turn it down a little bit, so we don't want it to stick on the bottom. This is a pan that's Teflon coated, or non-stick pan. And as you're stirring, if you think that it's getting too thick, which this is not too bad, but you can always add water. The broth is nice and rich, so it won't hurt to add just a little bit of water if you need it. I think we're probably okay. And that pretty much is how you make homemade noodles. It's not hard. It really is not that time consuming as you think it might be. And we are done. Enjoy.